Hello and good day to you all. After a movie comes along and successfully delivers something different, then it's safe to say that other similar stories will quickly get greenlighted into production. When Brian De Palma's Carrie came out in 1976 and became a huge success, it spawned a few so-called rip-offs in the following years. This is one that was labeled as such, but is it a label it deserves? Stick with me for the next few minutes to find out. I am Torstein from CinemaTerror and this is The Spell. Rita Machette is a 15-year-old girl who should be enjoying her teenage years, but things are not going so well for Rita in both her school and home life. She is having issues fitting in anywhere due to her struggling with her weight, a so-called flaw that is enough for the other girls at school to bully her, calling her all sorts of mean names like Moby Dick and Tubbo. Feeling like an outsider in all aspects of her life, she mostly stays by herself and only enjoys her own company. This makes her a bit socially awkward, and even her own family is struggling with accepting that Rita is not as perfect as everyone else. All of this obviously takes a mental toll on Rita, but suddenly, unexplainable events start to occur involving the ones who have tormented her the most, making even Rita's own family believe that there is something seriously wrong with her, to the point where they want to send her away. Is this a tragic case of a lonely, misunderstood child in the hands of an emotionally abusive family? Or are there supernatural forces at play in the Machette house?
He's married.
What is it? Kathleen! What the...
Writer Brian Taggert has said that the idea for the spell came to him long before Carrie was released or even written by Stephen King. Taggert sold his script to Columbia Pictures, but due to the successful release of Carrie, the spell was relegated from a potential theatrical production and made into a TV movie. I don't doubt them, as even though the spell and Carrie shares similarities, the opening gym scene stands out. Ultimately, they are two different stories that play with some of the same ideas. I'd rather say it was a part of a very small trend in the 70s instead of being a rip-off. Kinda like how I don't view I Know What You Did Last Summer as a rip-off of Scream. And yeah, that discussion did happen on old horror movie forums in the late 90s and early 2000s. And hell, probably even today. So how good is the spell, and how does it hold up today? Is this a forgotten gem, or has it undeservedly fallen into obscurity? I would say that it has largely been forgotten for a reason. As a horror movie, it doesn't have that much to offer. It's not a scary or tension-filled experience or anything like that. Instead, it becomes more of a family drama, with focus on the conflicts that arise between the other family members and young Rita. Their family dynamic is a weird one. It's one thing that the kids at school bully Rita. As we all know, kids are evil. But she cannot even escape the same criticism at home. The poor girl is constantly being put down due to her weight, which, by all looks of it, seems to be quite normal. And I don't care if she couldn't climb the ropes in her gym classes. As a real overweight kid, that exercise was a hellish torture. Her family is actually having discussions about how they're disappointed in her, and that they feel that their love for her fades away. That's kind of insane, as they also say that Rita does well at school, surprisingly enough. So I guess the supposed overweight is just too much to handle for this family, as much of this is handled as an issue before anything supernatural starts to happen.
You don't care too much for me, do you?
How dare you say that to me, Rita?
I love you, you know.
No, I am not sure I do know that.
It makes them come off as irresponsible bad parents, and there are only a handful of times that you can even sense any type of love towards Rita, mostly from her mother Marilyn, played by Lee Grant. And even her motherly love seems to be uneven. Sometimes she shows genuine concern for Rita, while in other scenes it looks like she considers her daughter to be nothing more of an annoyance. Perhaps the filmmakers thought that it was a good idea to go this way, as it could garner up some more sympathy towards Rita. But that also goes out of the window, as Rita herself is not a teenager that you would want your own teens to hang out with. Her anger and frustration is understandable, but at times she also behaves like the spawn of Satan. So what we end up with is not only a main character that it becomes hard to feel much sympathy for, but also an entire unlikable family that at least I would rather not spend my time with. It hurts the movie that we also spend the majority of the running time inside of their house. We hardly go back to Rita's school life after the first 30 minutes, and the lack of different settings makes the film feel slow. It would have been nice if more time was spent on the supernatural element, instead of letting it play in the background all the way up until the hilarious final climax, which takes quite a turn that I'm not going to spoil here. I will however say if the entire movie went with the same intensity and craziness, then we would have had a different discussion about the spell. Oddly enough, some of the stuff that I would consider flaws in the film also makes it fun to sit through. I didn't care for any of the family members, but I did like to see what they were going to do next, as they felt like aliens to me. I couldn't understand where any of them came from on an emotional or logical level, and there is some strange allure to that, if you will. It also helped that there were some recognizable faces in it as well. Lee Grant plays Rita's mother Marilyn, and she is pleasant to watch. James Olsen plays her husband, and while Olsen has nearly 100 other credits to his name, I will always remember him as Father Adamski in the awesome first sequel to the Amityville Horror. Rita herself is played by Susan Myers in her very first role. She will go on to have some parts in other smaller productions, including a brief role in Revenge of the Nerds. And finally, we have a very young Helen Hunt in the role of Rita's little sister Christina. And I'm not sure if this was a 70s thing, but their parents should have told their friend to chill out when he told Christina, the 13-year-old, that she was gorgeous.
Man, she is gorgeous. You must be sick of hearing that.
When does a woman hate a compliment?
When she is only 13.
Experienced actor turned TV director Lee Phillips got the task of bringing the spell to life, and I cannot say that I think it was a good fit for this task, or that his work on it impressed me. I'm guessing it was just another job in a long list of projects for him, as I could not feel much excitement or creativity pouring out of the screen. And yes, I'm fully aware that I might be asking a bit too much from him, considering that this was a 70s made-for-TV movie. The Spell is a weird little film that has many factors going against it. There was some potential here, but it felt like they either didn't try hard enough or were simply able to make the characters engaging, and the supernatural element felt relegated to the background for the most part. It's not a waste of time for those of us who enjoy TV movies from this era, and while I am being a bit harsh on it, I do not regret spending 86 minutes with this film. You should be able to tell by this review if this is something you might enjoy, and if you do think The Spell is suitable for your cinematic taste buds, then do know that the great guys over at Scream Factory released it on Blu-ray a few years ago. The Spell ends up with getting an OK at best score of 2.5 out of 5. Have you seen The Spell? What are your thoughts on it? What other horror movies that might have been labeled as a Carrie ripoff do you enjoy and think more people need to check out? Let me and others know in the comment section below. I have a few other made-for-TV horror movie reviews up on my channel. One of the more recent ones is The Possession from 1977, where none other than Harrison Ford shows up, so check that one out if you enjoyed this video. Have a great day wherever in the world you are, and I hope to see you again next time for more videos on all kinds of obscure horror movies here on CinemaTerror. Thank you.